There's something about routine that comforts us. Predictability makes life feel stable, safe. I used to think that about Thursdays. Every Thursday, she worked late. That's what she told me. A standing meeting with a client in Larchmont. Sometimes she'd come home with Thai food, still warm in the paper bag, and kiss me on the cheek like she wasn't already drifting away. I used to meet her at the door. I don't anymore. It started subtly, like these things do. I noticed the first change in her smile. It didn't quite reach her eyes. Then the clothes, different, more fitted, more deliberate. A new perfume, too, muskier than what she usually wore. When I asked, she said she was reinventing herself. Work culture's shifting, she told me. You wouldn't understand. She wasn't cruel when she said it. Just absent. Like I wasn't really there. But I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to believe her. For months, I convinced myself it was just stress. Just work. Just the new account. But it wasn't. It never is. There's always something beneath the surface, something rotting that you pretend doesn't smell. The first real crack came one night around midnight. I was up working on a pitch deck, half asleep, when her phone buzzed on the nightstand. I glanced at it out of instinct. Miss you already. Same time next Thursday. No name. Just a number. I didn't say anything. I should have, but I didn't. Instead, I became something I never wanted to be, a man who watches, who waits, who doubts. Every Thursday, I logged her location on Find My iPhone. And every Thursday, it said, location not available. I started collecting patterns. She left at the same time, wore the same jacket, carried a different purse. She took the highway, always west. One time, I checked the car's mileage before and after. 18 miles, round trip. Exactly. Still, I did nothing. Because there's a kind of cowardice that dresses up as patience. And I wore it like armor. Until one Thursday, I broke. It wasn't a grand decision. I didn't sit down and draw a plan. I just followed her. She left at 6:12 p.m., just like clockwork. I gave her a head start, then took my car and stayed back far enough to blend in. My hands were cold on the wheel. Not from the air. From fear. I wasn't ready to know the truth. But I needed to know it anyway. She drove into the city, Midtown, to be exact. Not Larchmont. Not even close. She parked in a garage on 38th and 7th, took the elevator down, then walked. I trailed her from half a block away. Then she stopped. Right outside the Elysian Hotel. It's one of those boutique places with mirrored windows and too much gold trim. She didn't hesitate. Just stepped inside like she'd been there before. Like she belonged. A minute later, a man walked in behind her. Mid-40s. Clean cut. Confident. Wearing a suit that said money but a haircut that said midlife crisis. I stood across the street. Didn't move. I watched him put a hand on her back. Watched her lean in. Laugh. Watched them disappear through the revolving door and vanish into the elevator. I didn't follow them in. I didn't need to. I just stood there. 20 minutes passed. Maybe 30. I can't really remember. The sounds of the city blurred into something distant. A violinist played a sad tune near the subway steps, and it felt like he was scoring my heartbreak in real time. When I finally turned to leave, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just felt hollow. Like something had been cut from me quietly while I wasn't looking. The drive home was silent. The kind of silence that presses against your chest. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling while she was God knows where, doing God knows what, with someone who wasn't me. My phone buzzed at 11:14 p.m. Client dinner ran long. Sorry, I'll make it up to you. I stared at the screen. She still lied with such ease. I turned the phone over. I didn't reply. Instead, I got up. I walked to the bathroom. I looked at myself in the mirror, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't recognize the man looking back. He looked tired. He looked older. He looked like someone who had believed too much for too long. But underneath that was something else. Not anger. Not yet. Just clarity. And clarity is a powerful thing. The next morning, I didn't speak to her. Not out of spite. More like I didn't trust what would come out if I opened my mouth. She moved around the kitchen as if nothing had happened. Made her coffee. Kissed my cheek. Hummed some indie tune she liked. And I stood there, watching her like she was a stranger trying on my wife's skin. I didn't say anything that day. Or the next. I think I needed the silence to understand just how far we'd fallen. But the truth is, I didn't need more proof. I already had it. I'd seen her walk into that hotel with him. I'd seen her disappear behind mirrored glass, holding someone else's hand. Still, part of me, a very stupid, hopeful part, wanted her to come clean. to give me something to work with. Maybe not forgiveness, but honesty. A thread to pull on. But that thread never came. She just kept lying. The next Thursday, she did it again. Working late. I didn't follow her this time. I already knew where she was going, what she was doing. What changed was me. That week, I saw a lawyer. Quiet office, just outside town. Man in his 60s with tired eyes and a folder full of options. I didn't mention the hotel. Just asked about protecting myself. About what I could do if this continued. He asked me if I was ready. I wasn't. But I said yes anyway. That same week, I hired a private investigator. Not because I needed more evidence, but because part of me needed to see just how far this had gone. What kind of man she was choosing over the life we built. 2 weeks later, the PI handed me a folder. Photos. Receipts. Hotel logs. Even texts somehow. He'd gotten a burner transcript. Words I won't repeat. Not out of shame. Just because they're still stuck in my throat. That was the moment I knew there was no fixing it. Not because of what she did, but because of how long she'd done it. How many Thursdays I'd sat at home thinking she was stuck in traffic while she was pressed against someone else's chest. I waited for the right moment. It came on a quiet Sunday morning. The kind where we used to go to the farmer's market and argue over basil and overpriced bread. She was folding laundry, humming that same indie song. I sat on the edge of the bed and said her name. Just that. She looked up, smiled, and I asked, "How long have you been lying to me?" Her face changed instantly. Not surprise, calculation. Like she was choosing which version of the truth would hurt the least. "What are you talking about?" "I followed you. 2 Thursdays ago. Elysian Hotel." The silence was like ice cracking. She blinked, mouth slightly open, and I could see it, this little flicker of defeat. Not because she was caught, but because I wasn't supposed to know. I was supposed to stay in the dark, be her loyal little audience to the illusion. It's not what you think. She always started her lies that way. I held up the folder. She didn't touch it. "You've been seeing him for a while." "I know. You don't have to lie anymore." She sat down on the edge of the bed, opposite me. Same posture. Same bed. But we were miles apart. Her eyes were wet, but I didn't trust the tears. I didn't trust anything anymore. I didn't mean to fall for him. That was her defense. She didn't apologize. Didn't ask if I was okay. Just explained. Like I was a colleague. A casualty. A name on a list. The next 20 minutes were a blur, words thrown like sand, none of them making anything clearer. Just heavier. By the time she left the room, I knew what I had to do. I didn't throw her things out. I didn't scream or slam doors. I just began packing my own. Slowly. One drawer at a time. She watched me do it that night and didn't say a word. Maybe she thought it was a bluff. It wasn't. 3 days later, I moved into a rental. Small. Clean. Quiet. The silence was different there. It didn't hurt. A month passed. She called twice. Left one voicemail. Said she was reevaluating. Wanted to meet. I didn't reply. There was nothing left to discuss. Because the thing about betrayal isn't just the act. It's the intimacy of it. The knowing. She knew what Thursday nights meant to me. Knew the kind of man I tried to be: loyal, trusting, forgiving. She used that against me. That's the real wound. It's been 6 months now. I still think about her sometimes. In flashes. The way she laughed at movie nights. The tiny snore when she was too tired. Not because I miss her, but because memories don't vanish just because someone lied. Some nights, I still sit with the folder. Not to feel pain. Just to remind myself that I wasn't crazy. That what I saw was real. That what I lost wasn't love. It was the idea of love. I don't know if she regrets it. I don't think it matters anymore. What matters is this. I'm rebuilding. Not to prove anything. Just because I deserve to. Because we all deserve truth, even if we find it on a cold sidewalk across from a hotel we were never meant to see. That's my story. And maybe, if you're here reading this, it means you're going through something similar. If you are, I'm sorry. And I'm here to tell you, clarity hurts, but it's the first step to healing. And healing, while slow, is real. One Thursday at a time.